We had March, anyway, first on our agenda this morning is McDonald, Beamer Road, 2-lot subdivision. The public hearing will be continued this Monday evening at 7:30 in this room. I know as site work had, Jay and Rose had been out doing a site walk end of last week, or early this week.
Yesterday.
Okay. Did you want to add anything to our discussions, or?
Well, we were looking at that proposed cleared area to improve the site distance. Two things came on. One, there's not much weed whacking, there's a lot of chainsawing to clear out a lot of saplings, but I would imagine to get a good site, anything less than 6 inches you probably have to take down. There's still some big trees in there, but I think you can probably see around them. The other question is, it's a big chunk of it's wetland. The wetland goes right up to the road there. I don't know if the 1 acre disturbance rule comes into effect. If it's less than an acre, then it's national nationwide permit.
Right, it's less than a tenth of an acre.
Tenth of an acre.
Yep,
Okay,
that is
that-
nationwide. And I don't know if they were trying to make an argument that they're not going into the wetlands, they're just blocking vegetation.
Right.
Yeah.
That seems to be my recollection, but I don't know if that's in fact the case. Do you think that they have to go in there to actually?
Well, I got a big tractor with a big arm on it. I think you could do something like that.
Yeah,
Or
but-
going in the winter.
And
I've
avoid the
seen-
wires too, there's some wires that were in there, so they're gonna have to do something with that.
Right.
I would say that they have to cut trees in the wetland. It's a sharp curve there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely got a cut on that. The question is, I don't think that, it's definitely not weed whacking.
Right.
Without going in there, unless you got some sort of machine with a big arm on it, they can grab them and cut them off, but even then, I don't, going in, I didn't, biggest distance, I don't remember the scale.
It's probably 30 feet.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
We can revisit it again, Jimmy.
Now, did they,
Brian and I were out there too.
do they need, can they walk in there and cut trees in a federal wetland?
I would say so.
Right. As long as they're not disturbing the ground, it's not a disturbance. So they can go in and they can clear the brush and clear the trees, and we're gonna need something to protect whomever ends up with that driveway, that it's always gonna stay that way.
I
It
think it'd be
says
useful to know.
federal wetlands, 1.2 acres.
That's the entire part of that lot.
Right, that goes into your cousin or whatever.
Goes up to Jimmy's, yeah.
I think it'd be useful to get, I don't know, because Brian Roselle will sometimes respond to a comment, is the actual tree clearing itself under a tenth of an acre? Because in as much as you're not touching the wetland, you're changing the wetland. Because you're taking trees away from a forested wetland. Yeah, that's in fact what it is.
I'm just looking at the plan that has
Yeah.
that sliver, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, they didn't put an area there.
No.
I'll see if in some of the correspondence, there's an area there.
Maybe we can get some
If the
clarification.
depth is maximum of 30 feet, and if it's, tenth of an acre, would be 4,000 feet roughly. So that's like 120 feet long, 130 feet long.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to scale this, Rich.
All right.
I mean, I have Brian Roselle's email, and he's very busy, but sometimes he'll do a quick response for kind of a jurisdiction question.
Well,
So I could try and see if he'll respond.
Something like that.
I mean, it's 260 foot long, and it's at its widest about 24 feet. I don't know if that'd be an average, probably not, but if it's 12 times 260, it's less.
It's 32. If you did the length times 12, take it in half.
Yeah, it would be-
3120.
Yeah, it
So you're
wouldn't
well
need a-
under a tenth.
I think the questions that we have are, is clearing of vegetation in the wetlands considered a disturbance? Does Army Corps consider it a disturbance? I think that's one thing that we're concerned about.
he could get that pre-construction notification, send it in. If he doesn't get a response in 45 days,
Then it's good.
that'd be fast. But of course, calling and just reaching out, maybe,
Maybe he'll respond.
maybe.
Right.
And
Okay.
if not, then you should set probably a PCM.
yes.
Well,
Okay.
I think you should put the area on there, Fred, that'd be helpful.
Area?
Yeah.
Yeah, especially if you're gonna want some kind of covenant or chain of title, you really have to have a meets and bounds so that everyone knows exactly where this area is.
Did you think, some kind of monumentation out there, Fred, on the curve, on the right of way? From the edge of the driveway to that point on the curve, did you think a monument out there or no?
It would be useful to have, to make sure that it's kept clean. And I mean, they're not getting a permit, but the area that's depicted on the filed map should be evident so that they can keep this. Because, you know what's gonna happen if they don't, it's gonna grow up in a season. And you're not gonna see it.
You could pull a string, albeit a long string, and
Well,
everything on one side gets cleared, everything on the other side is fine.
I think if there was a vinyl marker or something at each end and like 3 in the middle,
Okay, I was just gonna ask what type of monument we get, so it's gonna be vinyl, requesting vinyl?
well, let them suggest something, but it's gotta be something that's gonna be evident. It can't be a tree, of course.
Yeah, or
It's
wood.
gotta be something that's gonna last, so we can make sure that that's taken care of, because, we don't know what's gonna happen.
And you want meets and bounds on that as a,
We'll need an area, so, I mean, I think Ross Winklovich will be, he's been in contact with me about this job. He will be here Monday evening. I will reach out to him and ask for the couple of, what we're discussing is, we want that very evident. And so, then we can have a discussion in case something else comes up with him then, rather than me making a list, this is what we want, why don't we discuss with him? Then we can decide as a group what kind of markers we would want.
do you want those markers, do you want them just to have for yourself, that Larry put in, the
At
subdivision?
Meadows?
Oh, but yeah,
They were vinyl, weren't they?
yeah,
They're vinyl and they sit about this high and they're evident,
right.
you know?
I don't remember the color.
I'll pull that detail and just.
Okay,
Fred, there were two other things that Jay and I had talked
Okay.
about on that. The size of the trees, there were some trees, if they can save some of those big trees,
right.
they were beautiful trees. And then the other was, we went into the neighbor's yard and checked out the view that this new house would have overlooking the Preskies. And if they can possibly do, like, just leave the screening that's there. Because I know when we were there in the wintertime, you could see Steve Presky's house very clearly. You couldn't today, yesterday, I'm sorry. So if we could just do some type of, keep the brush there.
There's
Should be
setbacks all along there,
Um,
keep the trees there. And
Do you think it should be supplemented at all, just a little bit, during the winter, can it be actually?
yeah, for winter, so evergreens,
How are they gonna survive on the high overstory?
Yeah, the only place
There
would,
was an opening there.
yeah, the only place would be on Steve's driveway there where he graded that. He had just put some new grass down.
So some screening could, I think, the other comment letter we got asked for that, so the lights wouldn't be shining in the house.
Yeah.
So I'll ask Ross to address that comment, and also maybe propose some screening between the proposed house and the neighbor of Presky, and also to leave what's existing in there between. This is 50 feet from the back of the garage, so we would want some, let them show us. So that maintains.
It seems to me where they clear around the building would be the place to put the screening close to the buildings, because it's opened up where light can get at.
They've got a limits of disturbance.
Right.
The property outside of the limits of disturbance, where they share a boundary line with somebody else, we would like something to make sure that the vegetation in that area is enhanced
Yes.
and it's maintained. It's
Yes.
flat. They don't cut it down and they enhance it, so it's in plantings. Does that make sense?
Yes, and if it does die, replace it.
Yeah.
I've often seen on the sharp ends in roads, signs put up by the town probably, careful, driveway around bend or something
Hidden
like that.
driveway.
Caution.
Hidden driveway.
Thin driveway sign?
Yeah.
That wouldn't be a bad idea.
On both sides of the driveway.
DPW, or highway looked at it, and they thought that it would be okay with the clearing. I'm sure it wouldn't hurt to have that sign out there.
How fast were those cars going yesterday, Jay? Not 30.
Beaver Road's a cut through. It used to be for, it's a quick way to get from Pine Bush to the wall.
Yes.
You want to run that by
Sure.
highway? Yeah, where by Sean? The hidden driveway sign?
Why don't we let them? We'll let the applicant run that down.
When you go out in the field, can you pinpoint the town ownership line with McDonald? Because my sense is we might be demanding that he clear within town-owned land. Is that maybe what's going on here? And I don't know if I don't know, I'd have to think about that one, especially by covenant and perpetuity.
Definitely are.
And I looked for his deed, I didn't see it. I assume Ross correctly showed, and I would think Beamer's a road by use, not a road by deed. It's been there for 300 years.
Yeah.
And so I think that issue ought to get squared away. The town may have some responsibility in
I think when we asked them at the meeting to refer to the highway department, it was in part because the clearing is within their right of way.
Yeah, Sean doesn't have a problem with it. The highway superintendent did send us an email,
He was gonna stop in today, but.
and he was okay with the plan as proposed. Maybe what I'll do is I'll dig that email out and I'll share it with everyone.
Yeah, I have it.
I read
I
it.
sent it around, I sent it to everybody.
Yeah, we all got it. So, I mean, the highway superintendent doesn't have a problem with this plan.
That's right.
I wonder if he knows that Ross is showing quite a town-owned width there.
Yeah, we copied the plan and highlighted and gave it to Sean, and he already had it. Just this week we did that.
Okay.
The road by use could have morphed into, it's kind of publicly owned because the new lot owners never bought to the center.
Correct, correct. Because this was a subdivision. This is being, a subdivision now being re-subdivided.
Yeah.
So, the property there that my cousins own, that was part of this. And they had it subdivided a number of years ago. So I'm sure at that time that the taking was,
Would that have been Aaron's subdivision? Because Aaron sold to McDonald.
sold, was it, I think, a subdivision by tax lot, by the road, natural subdivision. And then that property got sold to McDonald when 747 went through.
Yes.
This all
Yes.
transpired.
Yep.
And it got very complicated, as
Yes.
I'm not gonna go into it any further, but this got subdivided, and I would assume at that time, without digging that map out, that road widening strip was given to the town.
I'd recommend that maybe Ross pin for Sean, or at least state for Sean where the line is. And then maybe, because I think Sean's email implies that I'm fine with this as long as they clear all the trees. He might be assuming it's all on private property.
Okay.
And I just want to make sure we're all on the same page.
So we need them to mark what's theirs.
Wouldn't you think? And I wonder how much that'll reduce the amount of clearing they have to do and increase the amount of clearing Sean has to do, which is not my goal.
I think at the end of the day, most of the clearing is on the private land, and the rest of it's shoulder and grass.
is it wetland within the town right away?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, right.
Goes right up to the- And then there's a culvert underneath the highway to the pond.
And it's kind of a ravine also, drops down pretty sharply from the road.
Mark right away. So I'll compose an email to Ross, so we'll have it for discussion on Monday.
And since our hearing, Ross did get me the list, so I attached it to all the notices.
Anything else on McDonald?
Just Rose's note, the telephone, I mean, the electrical poles are on that same side of the road right around the curve. Looks like they cross over the wetland.
I mean, the one lot that is going to be, lot number 2 is still 4.154 acres. I think by design, that could also be, could be maybe tough, but I would think that they could squeeze another lot in. Unfortunately, this property, we've already got the lot around the corner owned by my cousins and lot 1, and they're oddly configured lots, they're not nice and symmetrical. I would tend to say that the ability is there to re-subdivide lot 2 sometime down the road. Do we want to discuss that at all, or?
If they move the septic field on lot 2, they probably could squeeze something.
I don't think they even have to do that. And
Now,
I'm not sure. Maybe it'd be tough.
is there enough room for it to stick a driveway in between the two driveways?
Maybe they could share. Morning, Jim. Good. They could share with lot 1, have an easement over it. Do they have the frontage? No, they don't. Correct? There's only 281 feet of frontage, so there's not enough frontage for lot 2. They have to be usable, right?
Yeah, it's 40 feet for a flag lot, right?
40 feet of usable frontage. And then you have to have the correct width at the building line. So you may not have it.
Should there be another lot? I mean, side lot lines are supposed to be radial to the road. He's got that jog in it, and it's almost, I don't know if it's filled where the point is on the
Right.
left, and how it comes in.
Yeah.
But are they really giving that lot enough usable area? Does it go down, does it soak down from where that point is? Because
Well-
they're getting a lot of wetland and they're pushing the house all the way back.
Basically, what happened on lot 2, they leveled it out and took a bunch of dirt and did the landfill cap on that.
Over on Lake Osiris.
Okay.
So lot 2 is very level, and that jog kind of goes right up to the
It goes
cut.
to where it is.
Yeah.
I don't know, I mean, even though they have an intent to subdivide.
They don't right now,
they
so maybe
wanna
we'll just
keep-
drop it.
Maybe they just want to keep the open land as part of their lot.
Can we ask that question?
Yeah.
Just bring it, and they had no intention?
No intention, yeah.
Can we do the WK question? Ask them to put a no further subdivision on the road?
We can ask Monday if everybody's okay with it. I mean, it'd be hard to do anyway, I think. Just the way it is. All right, very good. Moving on, okay, they'll be back in on Monday, I'll email Ross, and we can discuss it again on Monday. Next on our agenda this morning is KCE New York 11 and KCE New York 2, New York State Route 17K and Browns Road. KCE 11 approval discussion for 6/8 meeting, and I believe we got a response letter from Hyde Clark this week.
Yeah, but I believe he said that he'll actually respond to the substantive comments later. I think his email was reminding the board that this has been going on since October. There was a did everyone get it? I think it only went around yesterday.
Yeah, I
An email?
I sent it to everybody.
It was an email to me.
I even sent it to Jim Farr. In fact, I asked if he wanted to stop in, if you would be talking about it.
Because if you read the email, apparently Mr. Clark was surprised to see some basic questions being asked about batteries. There was a comment in the email, if you read it. And he admits it's a busy board and it's been a long time. I think what he was really trying to say is we all have to get better up to speed on this. And by the way, it's brand new, that's part of the problem. I've never seen a battery storage app. We don't have a local law that specifically covers it. The solar law does not apply at all, zero. This use has come in as a public utility where the standards, as you might expect, are pretty relaxed as far as public utility. I think the biggest confusing point I had is it was only last month that I realized they need 2 wetland permits. As we talked in October with the NEGDEC, and at the last workshop we had, March, the first Wednesday of March, Mr. Clark was here. And we kept saying, well, we need the wetland permit. I had it in my head, it was 1 permit for both projects. I was wrong. Because the permit we did get subsequent to the March meeting was just for KCE 11. And one of my questions, and I hope he answers it, what do you need wetland permitting on KC2 for? And will that result in compensatory mitigation? And will that change the site plan?
I think that woman that was here said they were gonna have to do compensatory
I think
mitigation.
she said that when we asked her. And I believe, and I let Bonnie jump in here, it was Bonnie that found out the wetland mitigation plan didn't jive exactly with the site plan.
Right.
And it's like, we have to get this stuff coordinated, which, by the way, is why the board said no permit until you get your DEC permit. And that turned out to be prophetic. Now we have the same issue with KC2. And if you read the memo, he's very insistent. He claims this was all agreed upon. The KC2 would be conditionally approved. And now this will be ahead of the KC2 wetland permit. So we're in a quandary here, and I think it's great we're gathering here and we can talk about it as I try to email and Zoom, because quite frankly, I don't know what to do on KC2. KC 11, I think, is approvable. I had put some notes out 2 weeks ago, and that's what he's hopefully responding to. And I hope we get it soon.
So he has to respond. I know that Bonnie had a comment letter they were going to respond to a week ago yesterday. We don't have a response yet. We did have the discussion about lithium ion or nickel manganese cobalt batteries, and they weren't decided on that yet. And there may be 2 different fire suppression systems that they'll have for them, a little different training. They haven't been in touch with the fire department, of course, either. So that's another question. The third question is, our neg deck actually specified the type of battery. Now, we even asked Aaron, the representative for KCE, okay, address that. You know, somehow we're gonna, didn't we ask for Hyde Clark to do that, their attorney?
Well, the answer that we got the other night was that they were gonna go with the lithium battery, but the technology is changing so fast in these type of storage batteries that all of a sudden they were looking at the manganese,
Well, and I
nickel
think
manganese batteries.
they originally had committed to the lithium ion
Right.
because the nickel manganese cobalt, that there was a meltdown in Arizona or something.
Right.
I think that's what it was. There was a real problem.
Right.
And John actually was able to fill me in after the meeting, John Brown, about the runaway. And he got some information on that because he has, working for the cable company, he did have some recollection, not that affected them, but the industry has this information. So it seems like we're waiting on them again.
Yes.
So I did have a conversation with someone named Mr. Pippin. He was with Haley and Aldrich.
Yep.
I found him to be argumentative. All I was trying to find out was when DEC approved the plans, because the permit says our permit is based on review of both the wetland planning plan and the site plan. They're both mentioned or identified in the permit. And I expressed to him, well, the outlet structure for the basin, it's in a different direction, a different size. And he said, oh, we just showed that. They just didn't draw it, it's subject to change. And I said, but we don't know what DEC approved. When DEC looked at this, did they assume it was, when they looked at the plans, did they assume it was going one way or the other? So he did agree that he was going to reach out to the permit person and clarify, and he's arguing that the only thing that they approved DEC was the wetland plan, the mitigation, and that was it. Nothing else that's shown on that plan.
So they didn't review the site.
If it accompanied, right? Because then they would have seen
Right.
it was, so which did they review and did they have an opinion on the outfall? So he's going to, get in touch with them, and he said he would send me whatever he
Okay.
may receive back.
So we need that clarification from the DEC site plan. We need Hyde's response. And was the battery type?
Yeah. And I think the issue there was that the neck deck specified a
Right.
particular, right?
Very detailed.
So that if they're allowed to pursue a different one, then do we have to amend the deck?
I think you almost have to.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll wait to hear from Hyde.
I was aware that they needed a second wetland permit when they told us out of the blue at the end of last year that they were gonna phase the two structures, or the 11 and the 2, they were gonna, it had to do with their funding from the state or whatever, or some group that they had to be in for approval. I didn't get that whole thing, but when it popped out at us at the end of last year that they wanted to phase or separate 2 from 11, I was aware that they were separating the wetland permits also.
They operate individually from each other.
Yes.
They're not tied together.
Yes.
One of them is a more, it's not that large of a storage facility. The one with the building's tremendous.
I do think on KC2, Mr. Clark's not going to be able to tell us more than he's already told us, and that is, A, it's a year out, and for whatever reason, I don't believe they've even applied for your DEC permit on KC2.
Right.
And obviously, that takes time. So what do we do with our review process? I don't know that we've had a project that's just pending for so long. And his point is we need to get a decision on KCE2. And it can be conditioned, obviously, because the KC2 is definitely at least a year out or more. KC11, they're ready to go on, although I don't believe they can cover the trees now.
Not a wetland.
In his email to you, Rich, he had put in, at this stage, we've identified the following permits that still required along with associated timeline. He had New York 2 wetland permit for 120, but I don't know if he actually submitted or didn't submit.
How long was that email?
That's the one from
Recent.
June 1st that you had forwarded.
Yeah, early this week.
And
Oh,
the
okay.
anticipated end date when he would get the permit would be October. If they're contemplating changes to batteries, if they're if it's that, flux. You know, why not wait a little before an approval? You know, I don't know why they're pursuing it now versus, you know, maybe. Because what's gonna happen with the neg deck, because the neg deck is for the two projects.
Correct.
Are we gonna have to change the neg deck again with KCE 11 if they decide to change, or would we do it now? As just this part of number 2, KC 2?
Well, maybe we need to wait until we get his response,
Yeah.
but if we get his responses and everything seems to be in order, are we okay with approving, a verbal approval of KCE 11?
Well, not if the battery issue is still up in the air.
Right.
The neg deck, I think the neg deck was meant to apply to both projects. I
Yes.
mean, I don't recall
Yeah.
Leslie saying for KCE 11, they're gonna use lithium. I think it was a general
Yeah,
statement.
since both of them.
Right.
Yeah, I've never heard of the other battery until just now,
The
or,
last
you know,
meeting.
recently.
Yeah, the last meeting.
It was always, thought it was always like
Yeah,
lithium ion.
right. So,
So 11 seems less of a problem because they have the permits, things have to be straightened out. It's number 2, which is the one where they seem to want to push for an approval, which is the one that's more in question because of the permitting process.
right.
I mean, is this any different than any other project where if we just give them approval as is, then they can come back for an amended site plan approval?
That's what they're asking.
I mean, the problem all stems from the applicant keeps changing their mind on battery methods and
Timing,
wetland layouts and everything else.
you know, when they need approvals, there's a, yeah.
I mean, we acted on this and we did a neg deck back in mid to late last year. And, you know, we're still seeing this because they wanted to separate it. This is all the applicant's request. So can we just approve it as is, and if any changes are on the site plan, they have to come back for amended site plan approval? Is that possible?
Are we talking for 11 and 2 or both?
Both.
I think if we have the battery issue solved and our original neg deck is still valid, because of that, I think, I'd be okay with that.
What about the wetland mitigation? They have to have some place to do that, and that changes the site plan lot too.
Well, then they proceed at their own risk. Because if the permitting process for KCE 2 changes the plan at all, they gotta come back. And that they're committing to do that, of course, it would be conditioned to do that if they had to.
Fred, I'm recused from this application, but just what you just said, I just had conversations with a wetland scientist that does a lot of work in the area, and he said that they're starting to see more mitigation banking. It's coming from western New York over this way.
Okay.
He is saying that, you know, you could possibly do mitigation. He was saying that the watershed that it would have to be in was the Hudson River. I mean, that's pretty vast.
Pretty
You know, that leaves you pretty open to making it available. I am recused on this, but just in
okay,
general.
I got you.
Just a little bit of science. When you do a little mitigation wetland, there's like a 6% chance that it'll take 90% failure rate on small mitigation wetlands.
I'm recused on this application, but I'll tell you, we're doing inspections on a wetland mitigation project that we did down in Woodbury. We're in year number 2. It's extensive. You're going out, you know, a couple of times a month. I have one of my junior guys go out and see how it's surviving. Is it wet, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I said, I'm recused on this application.
Thank you for your general information.
General information.
All right, so,
Fred, just one of the, did I hear Aaron say that they, basically what I'm banking, they basically pay money into a DEC fund for wetland mitigation instead of actually doing mitigation? I thought I heard that.
I
I've
think
heard
it
that.
did. It was federal though, wasn't it? Isn't a payment gonna be made under the Army Corps regulations? And DEC is requiring the on-the-ground mitigation. I think that was it.
Because the actual, so it's a little we asked them to clarify this on the plan. There is a designated state wetland, which is the farther north wetland.
Right.
And that's where the lines are going through, so they're having to mitigate for that part of it. The Army Corps part of it is actually eligible as a DEC wetland as well, but it's not mapped as such yet. And usually what DEC requires is that they want you to adhere to whatever they set up as conditions, because if you don't, then they will start a process of mapping it. And during that time frame, people can't do anything. It's almost like a mini moratorium. So usually they try to get, some kind of cooperation from the applicant. But sort of the DEC one is up here, even though the rest of it is eligible, closer into the building.
So I think that as long as the battery type is what they stated and what we've stated in the neg deck, we can just move on.
I have the feeling that they haven't identified what they want yet.
And I guess we were quite adamant about it last Tuesday, because now we're at this other type.
Wasn't the problem that the neg deck had lithium and that the fire department did a plan that had magnet, whatever it is?
I think the real problem is Leslie Dotson must have been talking to the applicant, because she has a whole paragraph about how much safer the lithium is. And that's the problem, because we made a real specific finding based on information she had.
And except new technology has made the other type, the nickel magnets, more
And
safe also.
And that maybe needs to be the subject of perhaps a new neg deck, because, boy, if there was a serious incident out there because of a manganese battery, and our neg deck said, well, it's got to be lithium because it's so much safer.
Well, I asked a specific question, do you have to do a, heavier duty construction or a different containment?
It's different container.
If, one battery was more prone to heat runaway or whatever.
Is Jim Farr still in the building?
He must have left. I asked him to come in, but he was going somewhere with Ron, so he's not.
My feeling is we're without an engineer. Jim is our engineer, and we really need to get some help. And the building code, the 2019 versus 2021 issue, which we also asked Aaron to tell us about. Didn't she say they're going to do 2021's building code?
Yes.
Of course, the resolution Mr. Clark prepared was clearly the 2019. So, back to KCE2. I think your remedy might be the only way out. Otherwise, what are we going to do with this pending project that we had a hearing on and closed a long time ago? Just wait around? I think we probably should give them a permit and a site plan based on what they submitted and make it real clear. If there's any changes to this,
Come back.
you have to come back. And they probably will have to come back.
Is there a site plan expiration, just looking at the regs and see it pop up?
We have in our code, you have to pull a building permit within 18 months. And you've had several commercial projects that the Lori Brothers comes to mind, Nasos. There's several that are out there for years and years.
So it's
So
time.
Mr. Clark is banking on the fact that he has a year and a half to pull everything together.
So,
I just texted the two chiefs that were in that meeting of QCE, and I was just waiting for a response back from them.
okay.
Yeah, what did the firemen review?
I
What
wasn't
did
at that
they
meeting,
think
yeah,
they
I
were
It was up by Albany, they had a project,
still working?
and, Stillwater. And I guess the Stillwater plans, they said we're using the opposite of what we had approved in our neg deck. So that was one of the other things that came up. The fire department reviewed something that our neg deck didn't specify. So I thought that was one of the issues.
Of course, here we are on a Wednesday talking about on for Monday evening, and we still don't have answers, and we need those answers reviewed. We may have to amend the neg deck, but we're gonna really do that Monday night. We have an 11-page neg deck, pretty involved.
She
And
didn't have an answer the other night about what type of battery they're gonna use.
No, we're waiting on that. We're waiting on that from them. I think we need to get responses from the applicant. I think that's first. And hopefully we'll get some clarity on this and we can discuss it Monday.
will there be a representative allowed to be here?
Yes. Good. And then we can decide, I mean, we could do an oral approval, couldn't we, if everything worked out?
Well, we have the draft KCE 11, which I marked up, sent it back to him on May 22. And obviously, when they were here on May 26th, they had read it, but they haven't yet really responded to it. And Mr. Clark's email says, we'll do it early this week, but he wrote that last Wednesday, so I didn't understand. He must have meant early this week.
Yeah. So, okay.
Fred, lithium ion.
Lithium ion is
From
what?
man, yeah, lithium ion.
Okay.
Is what they reviewed.
Yeah, my question was, what was the type of battery did you discuss with KCE and lithium ion?
Okay. Maybe I'll reach out.
The neck deck refers to lithium iron phosphate.
No such thing.
Is that what the typo?
No, that's what it says.
Iron phosphate, well, yeah, that's what it means.
When you Google it, that's what it
Iron, lithium iron.
Maybe
Those are iron phosphate is the iron.
Mhm.
Maybe iron phosphate is the iron.
section.
Okay.
Storage.
Yeah, let's say lithium iron phosphate.
Oh, I don't know.
Bonnie, Andrew just asked about model battery storage laws. Can you send us one from Blooming Grove, or
Yeah, a while back. They adopted one.
was it Blooming?
Flex.
Was it Blooming Grove?
It's Blooming Grove. Then they
I think
adopted.
you sent that to me.
I can resend.
No, I know where it is, I didn't throw it out.
Now, my CERTA seminar, they were very specific that a town having this type of facility in it should have a law on the books. My CERTA was very specific about that.
Yeah, I think it'd be useful to have one here going forward with additional ones.
That's in the town board.
I'll reach out to Hyde.
Yeah.
The battery type, basically, so we know if our original neg deck is okay. And he wrote a resolution, Rich marked it up, we need that updated. And respond to Bonnie's comment, and any other comments from our meeting the other night. And we'll see you, for you, I'll ask Hyde to show up on Monday. Okay?
Now, just so you know, Hyde sent a draft resolution on KCE 2 at the same time he sent one on KCE 11. Even though I marked 2 up, I didn't send it around because 2 has the chairman issuing the special use permit, the chairman, not the board, after the DEC permitting has been done. But I said, I don't think that's okay, and we don't do it that way here in Montgomery. The board issues the permits, not the chairman. That was his attempt to maybe make it administrative. The chair just signs the permit when the conditions are met. So we have to walk through KCE 2. If we can get answers to his questions, maybe get KCE 11 approved and talk about 2. But if we have to amend the neg deck to even do KCE 11, that's a pretty tall order for Monday. Because if we redo the neg deck, aren't we charged with doing it per current technologies? You know, we want to just change that one paragraph and have you re-adopt it. 8 months later.
Okay. One step at a time, I'll reach out to him and he's gotta get his responses.
Great.
Okay. Next, this morning, Autumn Sky Development Company, Inc., North Drury Lane, SCU, site plan 2-lot subdivision. Public hearing was closed in January. Decision discussion for 6/8/2020. We adopted a neg deck our last meeting. There was just a couple of comments that Andrew had. Mike hadn't responded to them, or he did?
He did respond. I just sent Sue a note this morning. We only have 2 remaining comments. The subdivision still needs to be signed by a surveyor.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
And still the cover on that pipe. So I'll call Mike on it. It's
Okay.
just too simple.
Rich, did you have a list of things?
Yeah.
From the last meeting? I know there was.
You want me to read them fast? What I wrote down, conditions,
Love to get a copy of it.
okay? Just take a minute, if you want me. Remove proposed well-way entrance when we're gonna put by the driveway. Transition yard needs to be 50 feet to the RA2 to the north. Septic is in the transition yard on the subdivision map. I wrote something about landscaping in the transition yard, I don't know what I meant. The fire department wanted an access door in the back of the building, which there is. There's a conservation area to be protected or,
That was addressed, we're not going to.
okay?
They had said that in the SWIP, and then they responded that no, they're not taking
There.
credit for having a conservation easement.
Okay. No limit of disturbance or size was on the map. I guess
This is all in the
the,
minutes, probably the date.
Yeah, there was a comment, we had gotten a narrative back from Mike, the 30th of March, that addresses the comments you made, Rick.
okay, something about an MS4 easement. Hours of operation, we need to specify. They said something about 5 AM to 7 PM.
Yeah, there was a difference in, I think a lot of this was addressed in,
It's addressed in the neg deck.
New York DEP needs to be notified. Internally lit sign was not okay.
These are all old comments, Rick.
Okay,
These things have been.
all right, okay.
He's got the well, one of the earlier things you mentioned, he's got that on the latest plan, is to be abandoned in accordance.
Yeah,
You know, it's interesting, that well is partially into the right of way.
yeah.
It is what it is.
Okay, so with Autumn Sky, North Drury Lane, Mike had those couple of comments, but I
I'll give
guess.
him a call.
Give him a call. Other than that, just a matter of making a decision.
Yeah, and then that covers a lot of the issues Rich brought up. So obviously, it would be front and center in your approval. Exhibit number 1.
Do we want to do an approval resolution and adopt it on Monday? Or can we just do it orally and follow with one?
I think I promised you that.
Oh, that's, well, without saying it, do we want to do that? Can we?
Well, let me see if I can get something pushed out the door by the weekend. I hate aiming toward something in writing the day of the meeting. I almost would rather do it than orally versus hand you something that you're locked into.
An oral approval? And-
Yeah, if I can get a draft out, but if I can't get it out by Friday, I won't bother, because I don't want to send you something Monday at 4 o'clock. But I think you can muddle through an oral approval, and then we can put it in writing afterwards.
Yeah.
Whether it's a letter of approval or an actual resolution.
Everybody okay with that? Autumn Sky, next one. Autumn Sky Development Company, Inc., New York State Route 208, SCU permit and site plan, schedule a hearing.
So I had a long comment letter that he hasn't addressed, and I actually reached out to him this morning to find out whether he had in fact made any revisions.
Okay?
And he indicated that Mike Morgante, he said that he, sorry, from Mike Morgante. Steve Mikulski told me he's putting this project on hold for a little because of COVID.
That's Route 208.
Yeah.
So
That
then-
was from the engineer, Mike Morgante,
When was that?
this morning.
Okay, so we've got on hold.
I got 20 comments outstanding.
Yeah, that's why,
Okay.
so I think that's why they probably haven't responded.
They haven't responded, so it's on hold.
It's a good project to make sure we're keeping abreast of the application remains incomplete,
Mhm.
which is something we're not real good at doing, and we should. And this is kind of a classic one, especially if the applicant wants to hit the pause button. In some towns, they would get a letter confirming that their application remains incomplete. It kind of protects us. Why haven't we had a hearing on this? It's been how long?
John and I walked this site, oh my gosh, 6, 8 months ago.
So the application remains incomplete until our,
September 2018, it came
Yeah.
until,
September of 18?
in. Yeah.
until consultants' comments are addressed?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that you have to give a reason.
Okay. They inform you that your application remains incomplete?
Yeah, and confirming that, Bonnie, was that just to you?
Yeah, I shot it to him, so I can send it to everybody, just so it's part of the record.
Yeah, because the Sue should really have such a statement that we're putting it on hold. And then
Could you
that-
ask Mike to send it to Sue? Have it
Uh,
come from him? Would that be better?
Should it come from Steve?
I'm sorry, who did it come from? Mike
It
Morgante?
came from Mike Morgante, so I asked him, hi, do you have revised plans? And it was submitted, because I just want to see what the status was. He asked if I meant Drury Lane, I said no, 208. He said, no problem, Steve Mikulski told me he's putting this project on hold for a little because of COVID. So he just may not be, maybe in a month or so, he'll get things going again.
So maybe we'll hold off for right now?
Well, yeah, I think that communication
I'll
should
send
go
it
to
to
Sue,
Okay.
and that would trigger a short note back to Mike confirming that, and that the app remains incomplete. Andrew, you have outstanding
Yes.
comments?
Should I send it to Steve Mahalski? Or just to Mike?
I think Mr. Morgante's pretty much been Steve's point person
Okay.
from day one.
As per your email of June 3rd, your application remains incomplete for the time.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay,
By the way, to the extent we can put hearings off until the public can formally gather, we should try to do so. Autumn Sky is great. I thought we'd be doing the notice for the
Yep.
end of June.
So, okay. All right, very good. Thank you. Next, FedEx Freight, Neely Town Road, amended site plan, parking expansion. We got revised plans on April 30th.
We really have nothing further on that. The thing that we just keep in our letter is that we still want to have the town say that they're okay with those soil nails going into the water easement. It would preclude use of that easement in perpetuity, until that wall was demolished.
So we need a letter from the town board
Yeah, really.
saying
Yeah.
that they're okay for them to put the nails in the easement.
But they're okay with the
With their wall.
proposal from the applicant? Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
That's really all I have. I have no further comments on that.
So, let's see. And this is just a parking expansion. We don't need to have, it's not an SEU permit, right? So we don't need to have a hearing here on this one. This one or do it best. They're both just amended site plans, but that's for another day, for the town board.
Fred, I'd like to ask a hydraulic question of Andrew and Ryan.
Sure.
So it's really a head tank, some storage going up there.
Right.
Would they need to put another pipe in there? Or could they, if they added another tank, I'm not so sure they even could they still get away with the pipe that's there? It's mostly just feeding the system and causing, adding pressure to it.
We don't know the flow, the draw. We don't know anything about how that tank functions, how much it's drawn on a daily basis. It's adjacent to Neely Town Road. I guess, fire would be the determining factor,
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. I'm understanding it floats, like you're saying, it floats on the gravity,
Yeah, it gets so high and then it comes down,
Right.
and it turns on the pump, it goes back up.
Right. That would be
That's
a
normal
Mike
day.
Aiello question.
Yeah, but if they have a fire, then they'll be, opening the pipes all the way to put out the fire.
The town, before the town writes the letter, they should consult with their engineer, really.
Didn't we have a memo from
Mike?
Mike Jr.?
We have a letter dated March 18th from Chazen. One of Andrew's comments, soil nails are shown encroaching approximately 19 feet into the easement. Okay, how will these soil nails impact the future use of the easement? Response is, we are in the process of corresponding with the town board and town engineer regarding the soil nail encroachments. That was on March 18th. And I believe that may have been the last correspondence. Did we get a letter, similar letter on April 30th?
April 20th, Kyle Bardwell from Chazen sent an email around following up on the issue. It's understood there could be a conflict, excuse me, with the proposed soil nail wall and the town water line. We will address this conflict and will change the wall layout if need be to avoid the water line. Other than this conflict with the water line, is there any other reason the town would not allow for construction of this soil nail wall? We're looking to respond to Mazur's comment number 6. Please let us know how to proceed. That's April 20th. I can't imagine.
April, oh, that was the letter. Because April 30th, the plan should be updated to reflect the approximate water main location in the vicinity of retaining wall 3 based on the attached sketch from Mike Aiello. All right? The applicant should locate the water main prior to construction to ensure that the proposed wall and associated soil nails will not impact the existing utility. In their response, on April 20th, we emailed the town regarding the forfeiting of the easement area for the soil nail wall. If the town allows for the encroachment of the soil nails, the impact of the water line due to the soil nail will then be evaluated and modifications to the wall design will be made to ensure there is no conflict. But do we know if the town allowed that? If the town allows for the encroachment of the soil nails, it's not something we allow, it's something the town board would need to allow.
We had correspondence back in March, with
Okay.
Mike Aiello. He sent us their approximate location of the water main, and yeah, it's really up to the applicant to get that approval
The
to go
applicant-
into that easement, period.
The applicant needs to clarify with the town board whether or not, how they're gonna do this.
Agreed.
But basically, they're asking the town to limit any future use, further use, getting another pipe or
Correct.
changing
Right.
the position of the pipe or whatever, asking the town to give up
Forgo that.
their easement.
Yeah, for this wall. Or they change the design of the wall.
Right, correct.
They put in a concrete wall.
No, I understand.
How tall?
Amen.
Isn't it?
It's big, it might be 30
30
feet high.
feet,
It's
yeah.
very big.
32.
The other option is get an easement from I-84 and just take off the whole damn hill and just level the whole thing out. But, you know, basically you got 84 is all rock riprap. It's one of those attractive slope projects.
Yeah.
And on the other side, it comes down into FedEx. They want to take that all away and put a wall in. So that knob is,
Where is the town water tower? Is it close to where they want to cut away that hill somewhere?
It's on, almost on, like on
I
the
got the
property.
plans, Rich, I could show you.
Kind of like on,
I'm just wondering, that's a lot of weight and it's, you know, it's got to be supported because the weight is up high on a water tower.
well, so we can't, until the town board and the applicant get together to decide on how this is gonna work, we can't go any further, correct?
Yeah, I would say so, correct.
So we're waiting on them.
The tank is out of the way of where the wall, the highest wall is. The wall's coming down to meet grade at that location.
Quick question. The Conservation Advisory Council gave us two memos, and I don't know which one they wanted us to follow. They're both dated May 13th.
Yeah,
I don't get what the change, which one is to throw out.
the one with the,
Whether it was
with the bold on the bottom, I guess.
Is that the key?
That's the latest one, yeah.
Because what hydrodynamic separator we used in the parking area? What is that?
It's a swirl chamber. You use it on hot spots. It separates oil from water and sediment from water. The heavy stuff drops to the bottom, and the light stuff stays on the top.
Is that something that the municipality needs to inspect? That's what.
Oh, yeah, it would be part of your maintenance agreement. Yeah,
It would be.
absolutely. Yeah, they all are. Absolutely.
Are these in other
Absolutely.
hotspots?
Absolutely. Yeah. Very common.
And are they considered a stormwater facility, the general MS4
Yeah,
agreement?
I mean, it's a glorified manhole. The water goes in and it does a vortex. It spins a whirlpool, essentially. That's how it operates.
Get the heavies to the bottom.
It operates without mechanical means. It's hydraulically
They're
operated.
neat.
Yeah.
It goes in and it spins around the water.
It's pricey, but it fits the bill for deep
I've
sea.
opened a few, but I haven't been in one. Can't go in the fucking front space.
Right, right.
It's like your rinse cycle.
It is the rent cycle, yes it is.
That's a good analogy. There you go.
The CAC also said the new parking will be visible from Neelytown while the old one is not. And they suggest heavy screening, and I don't know. Have Karen's looked at this?
No.
No?
Rich, just to further on your question on the retaining walls. The retaining walls in the vicinity of the town's water tank are there. They're concrete retaining walls. They step. There's 3 walls shown on this drawing. It traverses 50 feet vertical.
Wow.
But there's 3 walls here, so maybe they're all,
That exist.
yeah, 15, 15, and 15, and grade in between, or 10, 10, and 10, but
I'm just
they're there.
concerned you got,
But the walls are already there. The
Alright.
walls are already there. And the weight is there, the weight is on them.
so they're not gonna cut into it.
Correct.
There's a path all the way around.
Yeah, I know it comes up from Beaver Dam or Lane before that,
Yeah, right, there's 3 walls there. Okay, so they've got some Okay. Let's see now, so there must be a landscape plan here, then, right?
In FedEx, right?
Yeah. There isn't any landscape plan in FedEx.
Is not,
There is not.
There's lots of calculations.
because, you know, we're pretty specific in the code about landscaping commercial parking lots. And that's exactly what the project is in front of you, like more parking.
Yes.
And, you know, they have to do perimeter, and then if you recall, you have a right, but it's tied to projects of larger than a certain square footage, you can move the landscaping around and make it work. I think you did that on Medline and Sailfish. There's gotta be a landscape plan, I would think.
Yeah, we need a landscape plan, and we need them to address, it's Kyle Bardwell.
Yeah.
An update on how you're making out with the town.
Don't forget, John Brown of our board did a memo a month ago. My other concern is the fiber optic line that runs through and across the proposed parking area on the east side of the property.
Yes.
I know Dave said, he must mean Dave
Young.
Young, said it was identified, but I wanted to make sure the project team has that as an action item.
That's actually located, there's a placard. Okay, on the fence that says that, and I can't remember the name of the company that John had mentioned. And it's also flagged, there's a couple of little yellow flags that go out into the field.
Okay, so I'll email him.
Fred, I think you had an earlier kind of question is for Rich, so this is just the site plan. It doesn't affect the special use permit in any way?
Well, I probably need to go back and read when permits are granted, are they granted for the entire lot? That goes to your question, or is a special use permit just that portion of an entire lot? That's my question. I think historically, we've treated it, the permit is to the entire lot, and obviously site plans need to be amended or changed. The board's okay with that, it would certainly be easier, and you would not have to have a public hearing if the permit, but I want to make sure the permit years ago wasn't limited to that 20-acre portion of a 40-acre lot.
How would that be defined by the limits of disturbance?
Yeah, we get into that site plan, SCU.
They didn't specify parking spaces and then, who knows how detailed they were.
I mean, they did agree to reopen secret here, right? I mean, we should have a EAF, we should ultimately be doing the deck. Because certainly any deck that was issued years ago would apply now.
Right.
Yeah, we had designated ourselves lead agency way back in November of 19, circulated. And Leslie notes applicant seeking site plan approval. So I think in Leslie's mind, there wasn't any need for another permit. It's a site plan amendment. I'm okay with that, if everyone
Yeah.
else, especially given where it is.
Yeah.
It's not like we have 200 residents right next door.
All right, so I'll email Kyle Bardwell in regard to that, update on how they're making out with the town with the soil nails.
Fred, do you think it's appropriate to start thinking about writing on the neck deck?
I don't think we're gonna have an answer on the town's deposition of that easement by Monday.
Okay.
So, and then if the, kind of the beauty in June, we don't have another meeting for 3 weeks, right? It's the 28th after that, 29th, I think.
Yes. decided the meeting on the 22nd, so it's the
Yeah, so-
29th.
29.
29, so we get to 3 weeks, so hopefully we'll get some clarification in, for the 29th.
Okay, so we'll work on that.
We have a little time, I would say.
Okay.
All right, do it best on Neely Town Road, amended site plan, this is another parking expansion. We received revised plans on the 13th of May.
We've got, 20 review comments on it.
Okay.
And the plans are much improved over what we had previously received, though.
So you've commented on that, and we're waiting to hear back.
Correct.
And I just submitted mine this morning, so.
Correct.
Okay.
Isn't there also something that the DEC has to decide whether they will allow incursion into their
Into the adjacent area, yeah.
Yeah.
buffer area?
Yeah.
Did we ever find the original approval documents or make deck or anything like that on this
Yeah,
project?
I gave you that, that was the hardware.
Okay, we have that.
We have that.
Yeah, I gave you that right from the get-go. You have that.
And Sue actually gave us the FedEx stuff last October.
Yeah,
So
it was hardware, it was a different name, it wasn't,
HWI,
HWI, yeah.
Wholesale hardware.
and that, Ryan, that may have been the subject of a POSDEC EIS and a finding statement.
It was.
Several of the big boxes along Neely Town were POSDEC and had big house statements. In fact, those that were around then remember there was a certain lawyer who encouraged us to POSDEC his projects. They wanted to go through the process they felt it was then bulletproof.
Do we have, would you receive Andrew at the Hamptonburg site plan?
I think I
That's what I'm
gave you a hard
understanding, is they already approved
Yeah. I mean,
whatever
maybe it was there.
improvements, which is odd to me, because we were
I don't remember if I saw it or
coordinating
not. Yeah. I
I
don't remember if I saw
seeing
it.
that also.
I actually, one of my comments was requesting it just to make sure that they
probably didn't recognize the name.
mesh.
So for do it best, we get comments to them, and then they can respond.
And we have the same issue, right? Is it a new permit or is it just a site plan? And both projects have the same issue.
And your comment included the one about the parking
Yeah, I've raised that, so,
spaces, not that the parking driveway or whatever you call
right,
it.
does it
in
include
the
the aisle or not?
setback. The aisle is in the setback, but not the parking spaces.
You did leave back in August last year.
Or
Do it best, do it best.
What was the SHPO letter? Remember, that's their,
Landscape is pretty poor.
Landscaping, and do it best.
They need to enhance their landscaping. And the other issue was, my understanding is they cut trees already, which they're really not supposed to do in the secret.
Yeah, I've said this before, that Do It Best was one of the nicer landscape projects on the whole corridor. And it may have been one of the first projects that former Chairman Kelly had a professional landscape architect represent the board. And that evolved into Karen Aaron. Bonnie, you said they've already removed some of the landscape?
I believe they showed trees that they were gonna remove that have been removed. It's been a while ago. And just in general, seeker, once you open the seeker process, you can't touch it. But I suspect they're going to say it was because of the Indiana back. The other thing is there's supposedly 1 or 2 trees on which they roost on the site. So in part, it'd be useful to see the Hamptonburg plans. I don't know where these trees are, if they're the Hamptonburg part, the Montgomery part. I'm sure they didn't cut them down, but we should all be aware somehow of where they are so they don't get cut. If they're far away from any construction, then there's no concern.
So
But that was definitely one of the matters, that part of
if
this.
they have an approval from Hamptonburg?
Yes.
Yeah, we received the site
Yeah.
plan approval, but I don't think we received plans, so I asked them to submit it, just so everybody can make sure that it's consistent.
I think there's a couple projects that have both Town of Montgomery and Town of Hamptonburg.
Yeah.
Rich, I also, in my comments, storage and the parking goes over the property line, over the town boundary line. So when you're measuring yards, you know, are they actually, is the yard measured along the tax parcel piece for the town? Because then you need a variance, because they're in the required rear yard.
That's come up, and again, the safer way is go get the variance. Bonnie's question has to do with the town boundary. And I think Baxter went for a variance because part of the Baxter dock is actually in Hampshire. Most of the facilities in Montgomery. That's that same line,
Yeah,
as you head
it's-
west.
Yeah, Wisconsin. I worked on the EIS of that once upon a time. In another life.
Is that in your comment?
That's in my
Did that
comment.
get passed on to them?
Not yet.
I'm going to send it. I have to
Okay.
send it to everybody.
I'd like to see what they think about it.
You lost.
Ross?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Next, so we'll get them comments and we'll wait to hear. Next, Red Birch Inc., New York State 17K. SCU permit amended site plan. It's a 2-lot subdivision. Revised plans have been distributed. Now, Red Birch, so everyone realizes they had sent in a plan that didn't conform to the moratorium law, so that they were rescinded.
This is completely different from what they presented to us
Yes.
before. They have a warehouse building in the back now instead of,
Yes.
Yeah.
What they did was, on lot 2 of their subdivision, which I think,
the subdivision is new also.
yeah, now, we had approved this, correct?
Yes,
A few years back.
Yes, back in 17 maybe. This got approved, and it got approved as,
there's the 2 big barn buildings in the front and a bunch of storage units in the back.
yeah, a number of storage units, correct?
Now they're subdividing the warehouse.
And it was all one lot, correct? This
Yes,
wasn't a subdivision.
Definitely, no subdivision.
Fred, didn't they also change the configuration of the buildings? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Weren't they
They-
more shorter, and there was 12 of them or 14 of
Well,
them?
they-
or
It
oriented
was a 3-lot
differently?
subdivision, now it's 2. What I remember.
No, but I was just talking about the buildings in the
Right.
front. Because there were 2 big buildings, and then there were buildings that go east to west, and there was more buildings, maybe 12 or 14 of them.
Yes,
When this project was approved, it was approved for all the long, narrow, self-storage buildings. That was back in 17, started in 15, it may have even been done before. Then they reapplied for a subdivision of that. And the only thing that's remained the same through this entire Red Birch process is, of course, the boundary and the 2 front buildings. I think they're in the same location as they were before. We had a rendition for 3 lots, now they've changed that to 2. There's self-storage in the front. There's 6 buildings, and then the 2 large buildings, which remain the same. And there's 6 self-storage units. And then there's a flex space building in the back. Now,
that's cute, 39,900.
Yeah,
Right.
That's,
a question.
New game.
The moratorium
Yep.
is on distribution warehousing. Self-storage wouldn't be part of that definition.
I don't believe so. The moratorium kind of, it does say flex space is subject to being a warehouse, but it doesn't go as far as you said.
What I was getting at, and Rose brought this up, if you had to add all the area for all the buildings, because right now it's 1 lot, it's not 2. have over 40,000.
20, 40, 40, 80, it's like 120,000 square
Right,
feet.
but because of the use, it should be okay.
They are their typical long narrow.
Yeah.
I mean, it would not be easy to convert that to a warehouse, I wouldn't think.
Fred, how does that affect the net debt? Since they changed one?
Oh, it's all brand new now.
Yeah.
They gotta come back to a two-lot subdivision, site plan, SCU permit.
So they're good under the moratorium now.
100 feet.
I would say, yeah.
Does the moratorium law require, or if there's a question that I get referred to the town board?
Like for a waiver or something?
Well, they probably have a waiver provision, but do they need to in any way interpret or no? But,
I don't think so, I think it was just the appeal process.
okay.
But Sue gave us a memo way back in March. In September, the board noticed its intent to declare lead, however, a full EAF was needed. I don't see we ever received a full EAF, so Leslie never sent out the notice of intent. Now, I see in the newest submittal, there's a short EAF. And that was the May 26th submittal. I'm sorry, May 20th. So is it long or short? And why would Leslie have said it had to be a long? Is it type 1? And by the way, that plan, is that plan different than the one we just got?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, definitely.
I'm not talking about the prior approved plan. They started this new plan in September.
In September, there were two buildings.
Two buildings, correct.
Yeah.
Presented us.
And there were 3 lots.
So it's just a short EAF.
So this, even if the board had taken some action on seeker, it's changed yet again.
Yes.
Yes.
So we better go back to square one and figure out, is it type 1, is it unlisted, is the short EAF okay? Obviously, you can always ask for a long EAF, even if it doesn't require it.
Do we need a new application if it's that different?
Yes.
Record?
I think they gave you one, it should be
It's
with
part of the packet.
the, it's with the.
Yeah, revised app forms.
Wow. We've got a moving target here. So we will need to redeclare lead, I would say.
Yeah, because apparently we never got what we needed to surface. And then, it's getting year end and this is the calendar.
We never got the full EAF, the long form. EAF, to circulate. And discuss if we need it again.
I'll take a look at what generated type 1.
I remember presentation by Larry after the original approval. Purchased one big barn building, storage building in the front, a more limited number of storage buildings, but I don't remember. You didn't have anything going on in the back of the property.
All right, so we'll need to redeclare lead and figure out if it's type 1 and if we need a long EAF. Maybe we could do that Monday?
Leslie had a fairly scathing memo of late September, but I guess we can just throw that out. That was based on a 3-lot plan.
Probably.
I don't ski.
Try and skate. I've been known to skate.
You've been up,
So
I've seen
did
you
you
skate,
want-
and it's
I
not
have
pretty.
skated.
Fred, did you want Larry to do a presentation on this? Or-
Yeah, why don't we have them come in and then we can discuss it go through it and get moving along. We can, if we had, really have Hyde, we'll also be in here for McDonald, Hyde hopefully for KCE 11, and to discuss KCE 2. And if Larry came in for Red Birch, I think that's probably all we're gonna need, there's the 3 of them.
Some subtle changes on the front, the 2 buildings in the front and the parking and the access. It's subtle, but it may make it easier to screen landscape. It may make it look like, oh, there's only 2 buildings there. But that's not how you screen it.
Okay. We'll have them come in.
So you don't need Mike Morganti then for Monday? No.
Shouldn't. I don't think
Is
so.
there a, between the warehouse, is there residential property further?
Right
You
next
go
door.
into RA5,
Right
right
next
here in the
door.
warehouse, you have the 300 feet
For parking, right?
transition yard from commercial to residential.
I think there's a swamp in that area between the residents and the subdivision. Like, right, Jay, there was a ditch, you see running water
He has his own map.
between the house and that,
It's on here, Fred.
there was a ditch, remember we found a culvert on the east side.
About 32 days, roughly on that.
And then you found remnants of the, that road, right, on the west side, the farm road.
It's equal 600 feet. So they got 4 feet. They're close to 300, not quite. He's got a 50-foot transition going on with that.
Good. Okay. All right, next, Zachary Pond, LLC, Lataki Drive, Browns Road, 2-lot subdivision, ready for Orange County Department Planning Review.
This was part of VHT, I believe, at one point.
Yes, same owner.
Yeah.
And
He was actually working on the old homestead, or Money Bill was working on the old homestead when VHT was in front of the board.
yeah. So now what they want to do is cut the 1 lot out where the house is. Well, so basically it's just a matter of cutting that lot out from the rest of the property.
Yeah, I had some comments, I don't know that they would affect the Orange County review. But essentially, if you look at the whole map of Westchester modular homes, they're showing what appears to be an adjacent area, which will hook up with what they're calling a wet area, in the southern end of the property.
Uh-huh.
So I think that that wet area may have actually been determined to be EDC wetland at some point. So that 100-foot adjacent area may extend up into the property.
Where VHT was, we couldn't get from one end of the property to the other, and there was a big wetland. Right
There was
in the middle.
discussions between the applicant for VHT and the DEC. This wasn't a mapped wetland.
Right, it may not have been mapping it eligible.
It was eligible.
Right.
And as a result of the previous project and their desire to work within that 100-foot adjacent area, I'm not sure how it transpired, but they were gonna map it from with delineation, so the DEC didn't have to do it. So they were basically giving up those rights as long as they could work in the adjacent area. So I don't know if that ever happened.
Right. And this particular map, it doesn't have,
It doesn't say WD 11 or WD, right?
it has WD 27, which is on the easterly side.
Yes,
But again, I think maybe that wetland that's going up the middle
right.
is also, and it says potential DEC wetland WD 27.
Yep,
I don't know why they're not including that southerly area, which it says ponding area, wet area,
yep,
because that's the part of the wetland that if you look at Westchester Modular, it's showing an adjacent area, so that too would then make sense, that that's also eligible and would have a 100-foot adjacent.
yeah, it really hamstring the property,
Yeah,
a lot of it.
so, to me, it's just calling it wet area, it's a wetland. So whether it's DEC or Army Corps.
I mean, it's eligible, it probably should be.
Then it should be so, right?
Right.
But I don't know that that affects, if they put the 100-foot adjacent area in, I don't know that it affects where they show a field and where they show a well. So,
Really not.
so if it doesn't, then, and again, I don't know that that's
No.
necessary for the referral.
It doesn't show, it isn't within 100 feet. It's 100 scale, this map, so it's
Right.
well outside of it, both
Yeah.
the well and the septic.
Right.
So,
So I think, it'd be good to include notes and then to address what's shown. I don't see that there was a determination made as to why from the EDC, but for purposes of referral, I don't know that needs to hold that part of it up.
they make it the same time.
Possibly.
So I think we're okay to send Zachary Pond to the county?
I was waiting for Ross, I wondered if he gets the assessor's list, because on the ag guide, we only have John Brown, and I wasn't sure, the rights or somebody else.
Right,
I
or
wasn't
Wilson's or
sure.
somebody else, yeah.
Yeah, so he didn't get back to me on that.
Okay, so once he does, then we can
Yes,
send it?
I'll send it.
Okay.
The copy, that form to
This property?
the copy parcel.
One.
They have to connect with private
The house that is there now owns Lataki Drive, that strip, and I guess Lataki's use it, looks like O'Malley's use it, and the house is gonna be cut away from the rest of the property. So we wait to hear from Ross and then we move that along. National Builders, Long Home Pay Trucking, 134 Neely Town Road Warehouse. SCU permit site plan update, they got put up in a moratorium. Our instruction was that, as of the meeting date, is that the moratorium law wouldn't be filed with the Department of State until later in the week. So we went ahead with our process, Dr. McDeck. When you find out a number of weeks after that, the Department of State filed it the day of our meeting. So the applicant's been notified that, the McDeck doesn't pertain now. So they have to file an appeal with the town board.
And if they're successful, this board will have to re-adopt and again, and work for them.
So that's what's going on with that. We've got a couple of proposals. One that we've been working on, that McConnell Barnett Colden House. Did Corey ever reach out to you, Bonnie?
He did.
He did.
And I did email him and say we wanted to talk, but I think something was going on.
He was not gonna be back. He and his wife were headed away. I think they had a family member to tend to. They weren't gonna be back until, well, the 18th of May. And this process has taken a while because they wanna have gatherings at their barn. They've got the downstairs fixed up pretty well. It's a nice spot, but, you can't have gatherings now. it may be a while before they can. So that the COVID may have caught them into its web anyway. They may not be. And the barn needs a lot of work to be safe, where they like to have the weddings upstairs. And that's not gonna be cheap and easy to do.
The roof was not structurally sound. You could see some of the old beams were starting to crack into rot. And the roof that holds the,
So anyway, well, I guess we'll wait until Corey reaches out and goes over your comment, and then we'll go from there. Now, chili gas,
I'm sorry, on Barnet Coleman, we got the letter from the state indicating that actually next week, the historic board will presumably vote to nominate this site for national and state registry status. Do you know if the McConnells were behind that, or if they're opposed to that? Because the letter indicates if a property owner wishes to object, they can go through a process. And I noticed the letter was addressed to Sue, and doesn't seem to be CC'd to anyone else, so I didn't know.
I'd have to look, for some reason, my recollection is that they did support it. Did, but I need to look.
Yeah, I think Corey has it. I sent it to him and he knew about it.
And I think if you don't consent, they don't end up on the national register, but they can still end up on the state register.
Yeah, they mentioned that in this letter. And it goes to the keeper of the national registry.
we'll wait to hear.
Sorry, start showing this.
Yeah, chili gas they have a propane building facility on Stone Castle, and he wants to actually build a building for biofuel production. They actually approached my sister, he approached my sister-in-law, but it's not quite what he needs. This is what I spoke. But, I don't know if you wanted just to talk or some guidance or.
I don't really know what he wanted. He wanted to meet with you, I guess when Tom walked you, but I wasn't sure either. I think he already talked to Walt, and I think Walt was okay with it, but I don't know if this is something that Jim Farr should look at, I don't know. I don't know that much about it.
He hasn't been in touch lately?
No.
Maybe I'll call him when I get a chance in the next week or so. His name is Davenport.
Yeah.
I'm sure I have it in the file someplace.
Yeah, I have it. We could reach out to Tom if you.
Travis Farm, White, delivers propane.
Yeah.
So nothing's been submitted.
Not much submission. Normally, in a normal atmosphere, you come into the other room after like 2 o'clock and you see.
Okay.
And maybe another board member and I go over with him, maybe the building inspector.
Okay.
But I'll reach out to him. Is there anyone else you can go over?
Got shear.
Okay.
Jay and I went out there yesterday and got shear. And they happen to have
They were doing a deep pit test for septic. Did you guys go out there, Alan, and Andy? They dug 2 pits for their proposed septic area. That's 0 perk.
in an hour.
There's a clay layer about 5 or 6 feet down that goes, and
They said, what about an
it's
hour?
clay, it's really clay.
Yeah.
And those spotted some long, so this is in the new, they're gonna have to flip their plan. Because the old septic didn't perk at all, and they're trying to get new and perk, and we were just there when they were finishing the holes, we didn't see the perk.
Okay.
Just looking to see if we were out there or not. We got the list.
They had the 2 holes closest to the road, and the one to the left had the modeling. It was more clayey than the one on the right. The one on the right looked sort of very good.
Yeah, but it's, I grabbed some stuff out of the pile and some modeling clay.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
bad.
just squeeze it, make a nice ball out of it.
Oh, jeez.
We were not out there, it's not on my list.
So they're
I'll
looking
make
for a
a
spot.
note.
They're looking for a spot that work,
Yeah.
I would say.
It looks like the top 5 layers is loamy, so it probably would work if the field's only down a couple feet.
Right.
But I don't know if the heat perk.
Yeah, if you're gonna get the 2-foot separation, but water table off. Was there water in it?
No, no, it's dry. At least the 2 holes by the road were dry.
Close way to the road, remember there was a big gap between the lot
Yeah.
lines and the road?
Yeah.
Would you say maybe 10 feet from the road?
At least.
10, 12 feet?
There was literally acres of land.
All right, we're good.
In the road.
That's good, thanks. So Monday we'll be in here spread out. We'll have those couple of applicants come in. We'll resume the hearing on McDonald. And then, the meeting, people will be able to call in. And I'll have that set up, so they can call in on on the town's conference line. You know, they'll access my phone and it'll call me. So it'll be easier hands-on. And hopefully it shouldn't be too bad. Their agenda doesn't look too difficult. Okay? Very good. Well, thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Take care.
Yeah.
Jay, did you get the email?